And I'm going to show you how to replace the Schrader valve in your AC port the right way, because the other videos I've seen on YouTube do it wrong. If you follow one of those other videos that do it wrong, you might have permanent damage to the other components in your AC system. This is the low pressure port on my vehicle, and I know it's leaking because when I spray it with soapy water, I get bubbles. You always want to try tightening the valve, which I've done, and that did not fix the problem, so I need to replace that Schrader valve. Right now is where I want to give you a little warning that R134A is a greenhouse gas that should not be vented into the environment, and it's illegal to do so. Once that's been evacuated, we can go ahead and remove the Schrader valve. There are specific tools used for doing this, and most of these AC Schrader valve repair kits go ahead and include that tool. That's it right there. I'm using mine because I'm used to it. I've had it for a long time. And so just pop that loose and unscrew it just like it was a screw. Should just pull right out. You could dig it out with a little screwdriver, or I like to use these forceps. And there's the old valve. Putting a new one in. Grab my new one and just gonna sit it right down in there, and then reinstall it by tightening it using the toe. Get that in there nice and tight. Now stop. This is where other videos on this topic go wrong. You cannot start refilling your AC system. When you open that Schrader valve, you introduce air, and with that air, moisture into your system. That air doesn't make a very good refrigerant, which means your AC system will not cool properly. And that moisture will cause components within your AC system to go bad, leading to very, very costly repairs in the future. So go ahead and take another 5 seconds and click that subscribe button, because I'm about to save you a whole bunch of money. To complete this repair, you're going to need AC manifold gauges and a vacuum pump. Now, I normally have fairly expensive Robinair gauges and vacuum pump that I would be using right now, but that's at my stepdad's house. So I went ahead and I bought what you all would probably be buying. This is an extreme power, what is that? Extreme US power, or US extreme power? Anyway, it's a fairly inexpensive kit that can be found on Amazon, which comes with everything you need, including the vacuum pump. We're going to give this a try today, and if it works well, I'll give you a thumbs up recommendation. You should go buy it, and I'll have a link for it both in the video description and maybe in my pinned comment. And if it doesn't work well, I'll tell you that as well toward the end of the video. Now, you can't normally rent AC manifold gauges, but I have seen some parts stores rent out vacuum pumps. So you might be able to save some money and not even have to purchase one. Check with your local AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts or O'Reilly's and see if they have these available to rent. I will warn you though that it can sometimes be a hassle to rent these because of the vacuum pump oil that's necessary. A lot of times they will give you a rental unit that has no vacuum pump oil in it, and amazingly, a lot of times they don't sell vacuum pump oil in their stores. So anyway, keep that in mind. This one came with the vacuum pump oil, and I've already filled it and it's ready to go. Using these gauges is actually a lot simpler than it looks. This is your high side, this is your low side. You're going to want to start with both of those closed, and then with their ends down here, you want to start with them all the way closed as well, which feels like you're opening it, but what you're doing is the thing that pushes in the Schrader valve, you're bringing that all the way up so that when you put these on in the beginning, that Schrader valve won't be pressed. On most vehicles, I'd go ahead and replace the Schrader valve on your high side as well right now, because the kits come with both. It's a good idea to go ahead and replace it. These Chevrolet trucks that I'm working on right now have a very odd Schrader valve setup for their high side, and it doesn't have a typical replaceable unit in there. If you happen to be working on these and this part's leaking, you have to actually replace the whole kind of like tip of it. So blue is your low side, and so you just slide this up and then press it over, and then red is your high side, and I'm pulling that up and pressing it over as well. And the good news is you cannot reverse these. They are different sizes, and so it's kind of foolproof. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and just open this on up. And of course, there's no charge in it, so I see no change on my gauges. And I'm also going to go ahead and open up the high side as well. The yellow will go to the vacuum pump. So I'm just screwing that on there. You want to make sure you have oil in it, and you can go ahead and turn on the vacuum pump. Actually fairly quiet. Now I'm switching up here to the gauges, and if you can see right now it's at 0. I'm going to open this valve, which is going to allow the vacuum that's in this yellow to then be able to pull through my low side. So we should see this gauge go negative. Now we'll do the same thing with the high side. So what we want to do now is leave this vacuum pump running for a minimum of 1 hour. Probably the longer your system's been open, the longer you want it to run. A lot of people will leave this thing run all night long. In my case, I probably don't really need to leave it more than an hour, but I'm going to give it a couple hours just because I have that amount of time to do it today. Since you have to wait now anyway, would you mind taking like 5 seconds and clicking that subscribe button for me? So it's been about 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I'm finally able to get back to this. The vacuum pump is still running at the moment. So what I want to do now is close both sides. So I've got that side closed now. And now this one. Once both sides of these are closed, now the vacuum pump is only pulling vacuum from here. We can see that the system is still holding a good vacuum though. Now I can turn this pump off. Got the pump off, and I've got my vacuum readings on the gauge. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and step away for another hour or so, just to make sure that those gauges do not lose any of their vacuum. If they were to lose some, that would mean that my system still has a leak, and I should repair that before continuing. In my case, I'm about to go get 3 of my kids from school, so I'll let this thing sit here for another couple hours while I do that, and when I get back and find some time, we will at that point go ahead and charge the system. I wanted to take a moment and let you all know that in recent years the tops of these cans have changed for the refrigerant. This is an old can right here. You'll notice that the top of it is flat, and that would have to be punctured to access it. These are the new cans here, and they have a little rubber valve in them. Because of this, if you happen to have an older can tap, like this one, this will not work on the new cans. Luckily, this Amazon kit that I think I'm going to recommend because I seem to be pretty happy with it so far, it came with the new style taps, which you'll definitely need to do this. I'm back from getting the kids. It's been about an hour and a half and the gauges have not moved. So that tells me I'm ready to charge this system. Kit came with a little adapter that goes on this. Get this on. Now this. This is the hose that was on the vacuum pump. I have that all the way in, so I gotta back that all the way out. There we go. You want to fill this line before you touch anything up there on your manifold gauges. So I'm going to go ahead and put some refrigerant in the line. Alright, and I felt that fill up. Vent the air out of this. So we've got refrigerant going all the way up to here, and you charge a system through its low pressure port. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this one, and we should see that gauge move. There we go. I'm going to see if I can get that to suck in some fluid at the moment. When I'm charging, I will sort of move this can. So I got as much refrigerant as I could into the car. Now let's go ahead and start it up and continue filling it. Starting the truck up. I'm gonna put the air conditioning on max cold. And then I'm just going to continue refilling the refrigerant the same way I was before. The AC compressor clutch is going to cycle on and off. When every time it turns on, it's going to suck in more of your refrigerant, and as more refrigerant gets into the system, it will stay on longer and longer and longer.
I recommend refilling your system by weight, meaning look up how many ounces of refrigerant your car can hold and fill with exactly that many ounces of refrigerant. But if you do for some reason fill using pressure, be sure to reference a pressure chart because optimal pressure depends on ambient temperature.
One thing I should probably mention real quick is that sometimes the vacuum that was pulled is not strong enough to get enough refrigerant pulled into the system to get past the pressure switch. And so I actually have a whole video devoted to the subject of why your AC system might not accept refrigerant, and I'm going to put a link to it, hopefully up here in the video somewhere and maybe also in the description. But if you don't have time to watch that whole video, what I'm doing is jumping the pressure switch so that my AC compressor will run even when the system senses that the pressure is too low. And so I've just got a paper clip and I've put it in the pressure switch of this vehicle, which was found on the accumulator, which is right here on the firewall. And that's going to be found on the low side of the pressure, somewhere between the firewall of the vehicle and your AC compressor. But what that's going to do is turn on this AC compressor, even though the pressure in the system isn't quite enough. And that's going to allow me to suck more of this refrigerant into the car. Another thing you can do if you're having a hard time getting refrigerant into the car is to dip this in hot water. Well, that should be everything you need to know to be able to get your Schrader valve fixed the right way. I hope this video helped you. If it did, would you mind helping me by clicking that subscribe button? I appreciate you.